When I walk to work every day, I bring my recorder and my headphones. I listen to the world. I go different ways each time. Try to hear new things. Sometimes I record them. Sometimes I just listen and write things down. It gets my brain moving before I've even gotten into the studio, because I'm somebody who feels a little bit locked in when I'm like in a box, right? In that square room that's like perfectly sound treated. It starts to suck the life out of what I do. So my goal is to bring the world into the studio. So anything I can do to like shake up the norm, huge. In about a month, we are jumping over to the room next door. We have this big shared studio space, us and a few companies. And we decided that with one company moving out, it would make sense for us to go in the other room for a few reasons. And we're gonna turn this into like content creation type room place. You know, this is the opportunity to make some changes. This has also been one of our busiest seasons so far since we've opened the company. Why did that have to happen right when we're moving studios, and then in a couple months we're opening a new store? I don't know, maybe a test from God. I don't know. But I'm using it to my advantage, because I realized when you're busy, you clearly see what's important and what's not important, right? When you got to get to work early in the morning and start editing, and the next thing you know, boom, it's 6 p.m. and it's time to go home. What did you use that day and what did you not? What mattered and what didn't? What did you wish was closer to your desk and what did you wish was stored away? I've been studying and learning and taking notes on how are these studios doing organization? What are some ways I can do this better? How are people doing that? What can I upgrade? What can I throw away? What should I do with sound absorption? Blah, blah, blah. It's so easy to get lost in the sauce, and I probably did for a moment there. But that's when I reeled myself back in and I realized the most important thing is being a creative and being an artist. I don't want to look like everybody else. I don't want to hit the hot trends. I don't want to just be picking between Yamaha or Sony, and those are the only two differences with my studio and the next person's over. At the end of the day, that's the main thing that I'm trying to do with this studio, is build a space that when I walk into it, it feels like any idea is valuable. You know, once we move into this new studio, I'm gonna take more walks. I'm gonna get out of that studio as much as I can. It's that place has a job, and it's only one part of the creative process for me. In 2025 and about to be 2026, to define who you are as an artist and specifically highlight the things that are different than everybody else. Make a chart with those things and then turn those into your holy grail. I don't care if it doesn't come off as the most professional like studio picture that the client has in their head. I want them to walk in and say, oh, this guy's probably making something interesting in here. Or this looks like a mad scientist lab and something's going on. It's organized, but it can be messy. The things that are important are right next to me, and the things that aren't, I do have to do some digging if I want to grab it out. Yeah, there might be a wall of storage that isn't the sexiest looking thing, but if it gets me creating the next composition faster, or if I get a better mix because of it, or if I can think of a technique or a tool I can use that I forgot I had because it's well placed, that's a win. How do I know if I did it right for me? Well, if my workflow gets a little bit faster, if my day is a little bit more fun, no matter what I'm working on, and if there's colors around me that inspire me, I'm probably headed in the right direction. If you just had your room and it was one style, right? It's like, I'm just gonna boho. If your room was perfectly boho or perfectly mid-century modern, all you'd look around and see is mid-century modern. Things would be too perfect. You wouldn't get any ideas outside of mid-century modern. If you're sitting there trying to write your book, all the things around you would remind you of the same stuff. If you have mismatched colors, styles, tools, hand-me-down this, new that, interesting this, normal that, every time you turn your head, you might get inspiration that takes you to a new place. All our senses connect. That's another thing about like the walk to work that I love, is I feel like I'm connecting with the earth around me. I don't know, like I'm sure people who drive cars can feel connected to things too, but when I walk to work, it feels like I'm like almost accomplishing something before I sit down and get to work. I don't know, it's like I walk through the snow in December and then I sit down and I edit a film where the characters are going through something hard. It's like you almost have to be able to experience something to really tell that story correctly. No matter what job you're doing, on the film, like even the sound guide, that can be helpful. My goal is to build a place where I can feel like a child when I'm creating, an adult when I'm editing. A friend of ours named Schaefer Nickel, a big YouTuber you'd probably recognize, great filmmaker and creative mind. He had a video a couple months ago where he talked about how much he didn't want to have a studio, but he finally got one. I love that video because he was totally on the mark. When I first watched it, I was like, what's he talking about? There's no problem having a studio. But for him, I think a studio meant more like a prison that forces you into something. And he doesn't want to be forced into anything. He wants to tell stories. He wants to go places. He wants every experience to be different. And I think when you have one space that's a little bit too repetitive or too routine, you become too routine. So thinking about that, the best thing you can probably do with your workspace or studio or whatever is make it organized enough that you can get your work done and that you can perform the way you need to. But leave it open-ended enough that you're not constricted and that you can still go wild and get creative and come up with crazy ideas whenever you want to.